In today's fast pace, we absolutely need to move quickly when it comes to developing a software as a service. We need fast development, tons of releases, while also keeping the costs as low as we can. But building a software solution is hard. It takes a lot of effort, and the worst part is that you don't even know if the solution you are trying to build will ever work out. Ideally, you would start without writing any line of code and go out and validate your idea. And if you can do that, by all means, do it first. And come to this video only afterwards and see how you can improve your solution. But chances are that your SaaS needs some sort of developing so it can be validated by the market. And that's precisely today's topic, on how we can develop a SaaS using open source solutions. Hi, I'm Ion Solovăstru, and in case you don't know me, I'm the CEO of Multisoft, a software consultancy business. So let's see how you can utilize the power of open source solutions inside your SaaS app. After working with hundreds of clients, we've identified only 3 ways that open source solutions can help your SaaS business. And I call them the 3 C's. First, we have core. Core is the concept of building your app on top of an open source solution. Then we have complementary. Here, you expand your application using open source solutions. And lastly, we have collaborative. Collaborative is the concept where you use open source solutions to help your app. Let's start with the first one. So building the app on top of your open source solutions. This one is the most riskier one. So the risk is high, but also comes with a great impact. I would say this one is ideally when you want to start to validate an concept and you want to quickly get to the market. And how does it look like? Is that you use an open source solution as a core, so the blue circle, and you build your features on top of it. Some use case might be if we are going to take, for example, Calendly, and this is a scheduling automation tool. If you're not familiar with it, you just book calls through this platform. So this is a paid platform, this is a SaaS platform. And let's imagine that you want to build your own Calendly app, adding some unique features that you suppose that will be more valuable than this application. Then you can just start and search for open source solutions. And one of those is Cal.com. This is an open source solutions that they have also the commercialized product for it. So you just go and search for their code based, so for their GitHub account. And here you have all of their code that are building this schedule appointment SaaS. You have it here, it's open source. You can just run it in your local machine, or you can use it as a core to build your application. This way, you will have a huge impact, like I just said. So the impact is huge because you can go to the market immediately. So you can validate your unique features in terms of weeks or 1 or 2 months at most, instead of waiting 6 months or 9 months or even 1 year just to build that core valuable, that core feature that you can take out of an open source solution. And once you've built such a solution, you have some benefits besides the huge impact. That's that any update that it's done on that core solution, that core open source solution, you get it for free. And usually the open source solutions have a great community of really good developers. So basically you have hundreds of developers working for your commercialized app, and you don't have to pay them anything. And you can keep that baseline from the open source project and just build your features on top of it. So you can expand it towards whatever direction you want, but having that core is something that you don't have to work for it. And you also have you can also identify quickly the security breaches, because the open source community are constantly testing those. The only, let's say, one of the most, let's say, compromised things that you have to do when choosing this approach is that these open source solutions come with a predefined tech stack. So you need to use their tech stack and their, let's say, core architecture, because you can not, it's extremely hard to change the direction of that core open source. But you can change obviously the direction of the features and the extensibility of your development, let's say, side, because it's developed by your developers. But that's one of the, let's say, small downsides in comparison with the huge upside of implementing quickly and fastly validating your idea. Then we have complementary. This is the second C. And this is the concept of expanding your app using open source solutions. Here we have the risk as a medium and the impact as a medium. How does it look like? Let's say that the red circle is your current application. It can be there on the stage of MVP. It can be on a scale like in the SME stage or even enterprise, because this complementary can be added at any time of the development lifecycle. And basically they have a part of the open source solution inside your app. And what does it does? So just imagine how fast you can utilize the existing solutions into your advantage. And the point of this complementary is that any software as a service should aim to have unique features or unique combination of features, because that gives you the value that you can sell to your future customers. So you don't want to waste time of doing repetitive things that are already validated by the market, that don't give you any upside in terms of a selling point. And I will just show you some use cases to have a, let's say, more practical idea how this looks like in practice. So Unleash is just like an open source solution that you can use, and this one is a feature flag that you can use at a scale regardless if it's a large enterprise or not. But these feature flags is part of your SaaS development lifecycle, and of course you need it. You want to do A/B testing, you want to roll out features in a very, let's say, deterministic manner, so not just roll all of them together and, let's say, be fragile because of that. But you don't want to invest your developers' time and your money to have such a feature internally, because it fundamentally doesn't bring any value to your customers. So you can just plug and play this feature flag, regardless if it's Unleash or there are tons of such feature flag open source solutions. And this is one use case. Another extremely common one, and I would say also I would recommend it one, is to use a predefined identity and access management. And this, let's say, complex terms translates quite simple into the authentication of your users inside your systems. So those username, password, login with Google, login with Facebook account, and also the authorization side of it, like, do you have access to get all the users? Do you have access to delete the users? So this authentication and authorization system. So there are tons of such identity and access management tools. This is just one of them. This is one of the most common and most tested. But the point is that fundamentally, if you are investing time to develop such solution for your customers, it doesn't bring any additional value than just plug and play and use an existing solution. And lastly, I just wanted to show you some, let's say, similar tool that you can use as a complementary, and this is called Strapi. It's just a content management system, a headless content management system, and this is very useful if you want to manage the content inside your application. So if you have some news application or anything that has documentations or whatever, where you have content inside of it, instead of creating your own system, your own internal dashboards, your own role access management for them to publish and manage those contents, you can just plug and play such a solution. So creating a feature management system, it's a waste of time, like I said, because it doesn't bring any value to the end user. Having an authentication and authorization system is not a unique selling point, because this is what I'm trying to emphasize, that you don't want to have features that don't bring like any differentiator or any benefit to your end customers. But some of them are mandatory, like those feature flag authentication or the content management system. These are, let's say, mandatory based on your SaaS industry and use case. But it's not mandatory to do it from scratch. So what I would advise you is that if there are some well-defined, well-tested, and well-documented such open source solutions, try to use them, because it will save you tons of time, tons of money, and you can validate it quickly. The idea or the main concept here is that delegating non-core features is to delegate non-core features to external open source solutions. And of course, you can always have it's called fork, but you can always copy the open source solution, adjust it based on your needs, and add it to your stack or to your application. So you can always do that. You don't have to fully depend on the open source solution. And lastly, there is the collaborative. These ones help your application by using your open source solution. Compared to the complementary and the core ones, the risk here is as low as it can be, and the impact is also relatively low compared to the other two C's that we've discussed. How does it look like? Let's imagine that your application is this red circle, and you use open source solutions that just corresponds with your application. So they are not integrated as a core, so as a whole or partially as complementary, but now they are just interacting. So that's why the risk is as low as it can get, because it doesn't affect anyhow your application by itself. So these are the three C's, and I want to show you just cut this one. So let's get some examples to emphasize this collaborative use case. A lot of applications have this concept of integrations. So integration is like the glue of internet nowadays. And you can either create your own integration system, or you can use tools such as NA10, Active Pieces, Prefect, Dexter, and there are tons of them. But conceptually, you can create flows that interact with your application, like creating a webhook to get some data from your application, or from external, from some external source and persist something in your application, or just having your access to your database and fetch some reporting or fetch some things that you want to deliver on email to all your stakeholders or users. So this can be done, and these ones are just corresponding with your application. They are not overlapping with your application. Integration is quite a common use case that you can use. Another one that is really nice is that you can use something like Novu or any other open source solution in this regard, that it's a notification infrastructure. So you can integrate a notification infrastructure to create emails, in-app notification, SMEs, SMS, and any other type of notifications that you can send to your customers without implementing the solution by yourself. Or a very common, if not the most common approach for collaborative open source solutions, is to create a data exploration or visualization platform, so dashboards. You can easily create dashboards from your application, so to interrogate data from your application for your users and all the use cases, but these dashboards would live outside of it. So this is yet another example where you can use complementary. You can use collaborative cut. So this is yet another example where you can use collaborative cut. So yet this is another example where you can use collaborative solutions inside your application. So this marks the 3 C's: core, complementary, and collaborative. Now I'm going to show you my recommended approach when it comes to adding open source solutions. And this is the process that I recommend to all of our clients. Let's say this line, for example, where we have on the left side the startup and on the right side the enterprise. And the middle side, this is the SME side. I would suggest that you should use mostly open source solutions, regardless if it's a core, complementary, or collaborative. Use as much as you can when you're in the startup phase, because your risk sensibility is low. You don't have any risk. You have no customer base or a few customers. But the point here is that you need speed. So you have an urge to get as many features as you can in the market and validate those. But once you go up and you create a customer base, then I would recommend to you to use medium open source solutions. So not all of your applications should depend on open source, but now you have, let's say, some kind of capital. You can hire developers to help you to create certain things that are related to your core business or core features or unique selling point features. Those ones are the ones that you want to develop internally. In this side, on the SME side, I would recommend to have as few as you can, like core open source solutions, and have some collaborative and complementary solutions. But as you grow to the enterprise level, here I would say to have non-critical open source. So anything that might affect your core business should not be an open source solution, because on the enterprise side you have tons of responsibility, the risk sensibility is high, and I state here that the need for speed is slow, but it's not slow that you don't want to have as fast-paced as you would like to in the startup phase, but the point here is that you cannot do as many iterations as you would like, because the base of your application, so the code base, it's huge. So every iteration is slower than in the SME or startup phase. But conceptually, this is how I would recommend you to think when you have the strategy of adding or not an open source solution. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you would like to connect on LinkedIn, just click the first link in the bio. Thanks.